Welcome to Dark Horse Matters, the show about people, their passions, and their pursuit toward their happiness. I'm Bev Matayoshi, your host, and I'm passionate about talking to people about their dreams and what drives them. So if you're just tuning in, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell because you could be the next person that goes after your dreams and makes them come true. So today's guest is a beautiful young girl full of energy and light, and her passion is living life to its fullest capacity. And I just love watching her on Instagram. She makes me feel young, and I like to live my life vicariously through her. And it just makes me miss the ocean, and it makes me miss the beautiful scenery of Hawaii. And she's I can't wait for you guys to meet her. She is extremely talented. She's a talented photographer and she swims like a mermaid. And I like to call her the goddess of sharks. So please welcome Cassie Daigle.
What an intro. Thank you.
All right. I thank you so much for coming on the show today. You are so amazing, and I just can't wait to share you with everyone.
Oh my
Because
gosh, no problem. You're my favorite dentist in the whole world. And every time I get to hang out with you, I feel like we're at the dentist office just kicking it like friends because I'm like, we talk about everything. I don't know how we get the cavities checked because most of the time we're just talking.
I know we get our work done at some point,
We
right?
do, eventually.
Well, I just wanted to talk about, like you being a Southern girl and all, like how did this Southern girl end up, in Hawaii?
Oh my gosh. Well, so I basically, technically I'm from Georgia, but my dad was in the military, so we moved around a lot. I was born in Germany. I moved to Georgia when I was like 6, so spent most of my life there. So technically it's home, but I never really felt that like Southern kind of like vibe. Like I didn't really, I grew up in the South, but I didn't really feel like a large attachment towards it. But I knew like growing up, I've always loved the ocean. I've always loved sea turtles. I have a sea turtle tattooed on my arm.
Ah!
Yeah. So I always, grew up wanting to know more about turtles and the ocean. And I would live for like the beach vacations with my family. So I got into traveling during college. I did like semesters where I would take a break in between semesters for Christmas break or summer break, and I would go travel. And I would do these kind of like volunteer sea turtle programs, and I loved it, and I would get college credit for it. And I traveled to the Caribbean and Costa Rica during my junior and senior year of college, and or sophomore and junior year of college. And so that's kind of how I always, I started traveling, fell in love with traveling, knew I wanted to keep traveling. And my senior year of college is when I went to Hawaii for the first time. Woo! And I did a work trade, which is kind of like young people can go travel to different places and work for free food and free stay. And so I worked in like the jungle of Maui, like cutting sugarcane and doing like the crazy, like literally in the jungle, like making people, like it was a tourist stop. So people would come stop on the road to Hana, which is like this famous road on Maui. And we were kind of like this fruit stand, and I would work like kind of making the smoothies, doing the sugarcane juice, and all that stuff. And I did it for about a month. And I just had this feeling inside me when I stepped off the plane. I'm sure you can relate, Bev. Like I saw the green mountains of Hawaii, and something inside me was like, I'm going to be here again. Like I could feel this, like, I want to be here. I want to live here. And so I went back to school, finished my degree, and then I moved to Maui 9 days later.
You got
So
called. You got
I got
called to the
called.
Aina.
I felt called, I'm sure you know the saying, people say like Maui either, brings you in or kicks you out. And I feel like Maui's done a little bit of both to me, but now we're here to stay. So I feel good. I feel, it's definitely like now my new home base, which is nice. Like I feel like Hawaii is home. Like Georgia will always be home, but this is like my new home.
That's so cool. Like, how was it? Like when you first got there, like you being, this haole chick from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
mainland, coming
yeah.
to Hawaii, like, was it difficult at first? Was it like a culture shock? Like, tell me your experience.
Like for me, I think I was super young. I mean, I'm young now. I'm 24, but when I moved to Hawaii, I was 21. And like to be honest, I think I was way too trusting. Like I'm a really trusting person, and like I think that in Hawaii, a lot of people go to escape, and so like you really have to be careful and watch out for who you're entering into your circle. And I think I was there and I was just like, I want everybody in my circle, And so I did run into instances where I would meet kind of strange people that I thought that I could trust. For instance, I have like a crazy horror story, but the first person that I ended up renting from on Maui was this old, like Filipino war veteran. And he had like PTSD, and he was like verbally abusive. He was crazy. Like I was 21, fresh out of school, got a bartending job on Maui, needed a place really fast, picked like the first one I saw, not thinking about anything, And it just turned out to be a really bad situation. I lasted there about a month, and like he was always yelling at me. Like he was just this crazy old man. And the rent is outrageous in Hawaii.
Yes.
So I was paying like 700 for a room, and like it was just not a good situation. So like I moved out of there, got a different space. I've jumped around a bit on island. But yeah, I definitely had instances where I would meet people, automatically like let down my guard, and that I learned to not do that so quickly, just because I feel like um yeah, I don't know. Like, I just feel like there's awesome people here, but there's definitely some weirdos. There's definitely some people that have demons, that
Right.
wanted to go away thousands of miles in the middle of the ocean. So I think I learned pretty quickly that like I can't trust everybody. And like now I'm kind of in this place like 3 years later where I have my own studio, life is more steady for me and consistent. And I think that like when I look back on my 21-year-old self, I was hitchhiking Beverly, I was doing crazy stuff.
Your mom is
and
cringing right now watching
Yes. And
this.
so and now when I think back and I'm like, oh my gosh, like how did I ever do it? But when you're young and everything's new and exciting and it's Hawaii, you're not really thinking about everything. But now I'm kind of in a steadier place in life, and I definitely like have a tight circle, and I don't really like, it's not that I don't expand it. I just know who my friends are. I hang out with the people that I really want to hang out with, and I don't need to like make a bunch of new friends, or I'm kind of
Yeah.
like in the place where I found my people, I found my spot, and I'm like happy. So
Good. Good for you.
yeah.
Yeah. And you're very lucky that nothing bad happened to you.
I
But
know,
you
I
know
know
what?
it
Like,
could have.
you're young, and I gotta respect your bravery, like I remember being in your shoes, and but in my situation when I was your age, I was just scared all the time, and I was lucky I had my sisters. We were always together, and that's what got me my guard down, was I knew that I had them to like be with me. You're definitely brave, and I commend you for that.
Yeah.
I know as a parent, when my daughter becomes that age, I'm going to be like, oh my gosh,
I know.
but at
You
some
know,
point you just have to trust that you
yeah.
raised them well, and they're going to make good decisions. So
And I'm sure at one point, if your daughter looks you in the eye and she wants to go chase a dream, you will support her, just like my mom did. Like, my mom always told me when I came to her, she'd have her worries or whatever, but at the end of it, she'd always be like, I support you and I'm happy for you. She might text me like, what's going on? And there's flooding, there's a tsunami in Hawaii. Are you okay? You know? But at the end of the day, she really, I think deep down, she's very happy for me, and she knew that I was going to have this travel dream. So, and I couldn't be stopped. One
you're
thing
going to
about
do what you're going to do.
yes, if there's one thing that the world needs to know about me, it's that if somebody tells me no, I'm gonna make it happen 10 times harder. Like I'm so determined. So, that's it. I like to go after my dreams. I'm super determined and I won't let anything, stop me from that for sure.
I love that. I love that so much. Um, so can you tell me a little bit more about your family? I know like during the pandemic, you guys ended up all together again in the same house. What was that like as adults being in the same household again? Like it was like teenage years all over again.
It was
What
like
was,
the Brady Bunch. Like it was crazy. I mean, so basically, I was on Maui working when the pandemic happened, and pretty quickly I realized that like I wanted to go home because everything was shutting down, and rent is so expensive here. So I knew that if I didn't have a job, was going to be impossible for me to pay rent, and who knows how long the unemployment would kick in. So like I just knew the best decision for me was to rent out my place. So I rented out my studio and went back to Georgia. I packed Beverly for a month. Okay. I packed like warm weather stuff because it was March. So I'm thinking it's still going to be cold in Georgia. I packed one bikini, which was my worst mistake. And then so I packed this bag thinking, okay, I'm going to be gone for a month. And, I ended up being gone for 10 months, we'll get into that. But I went back home to Georgia. And at one point during the pandemic, yeah, we had my entire family back together again, which was so crazy. But in a lot of ways, it was really therapeutic for me because like, I think we worked out, like, not that we really have any family issues, but I think like when you all put together again as a family after so long, like you kind of have to learn to rework relationships. And like, it was a very interesting time. Like for one part of it, me and my sister Hallie, we didn't always used to be so close. And so I have two sisters. Sam, I've always been really close with. Hallie, she's the middle child and I'm the youngest. So there's kind of this divide where, we were never always fighting, but we just weren't as close as me and my older sister. And during the pandemic, we actually realized how much we had in common and we became super close. So it's like a lot of things happened during the pandemic that were actually really helpful for me. Like I worked on relationships with my family. We were able to spend a lot of time together. And then my best friends all are still in Georgia from high school. So it was kind of like an interesting time in some aspects because you're like living your 16-year-old life again as a 24-year-old. But in some ways it was really nice. Like me and my sister Hallie at the end of the night, when everybody else was asleep, because me and Hallie are unemployed. My dad, my mom, my sister, they were still working. So me and Hallie would stay up late. We'd watch reality TV. We'd have a tequila and soda at night and just catch up. So in a lot of ways, it was really good because like I got to see my family. And I think that I really needed that before like the pandemic happened. I was going through a breakup and just like really just stuff going on in my life. And so going home, I think I really needed my family and friends again. And I totally got that. But it was funny because like, it was kind of like when I would try and go out, like, sometimes me and my friends would meet up for a drink safely, outside or whatever. And so it's kind of funny because like I'd come back late at night and I don't have a curfew. I'm 24, but like my parents be like, where are you going? And who are you meeting up with? And I'm like, oh my God, so that
can I drive you?
yeah, right. So that lasted about, I think I was home from middle of March until September. So I was home for like 6 months. So it was a long, it was a long
It's crazy.
I know.
And
And I
then
didn't have any clothes either. I was like, I had to go to Goodwill every week just to get clothes.
you're
I
all
was
digging
like,
in Hallie's closet, and she's probably like, "Stop
yeah.
taking my stuff."
Oh, it's always a battle between me and Hallie because we're the same size. We're both like tiny, like we have the same kind of build. And so she'd wear my clothes. But Hallie, that's my shirt. And she'd
It's
be
my
like,
one shirt that I have.
and it was kind of nice because we'd switch clothing. We'd be like, I don't want this anymore. And so it was interesting.
Oh man, I love I can relate because I grew up in a family of five girls. You have a brother, but like
Mhm.
it was all girls with us, so yeah. With us, it was like a
Can't imagine.
cat fight every single morning.
Your parents, God bless them, they probably went through a lot, five
Yeah,
girls.
yeah. They used to lock the door in the morning, and they're like, "No, you're not allowed in our bathroom. Fend for yourselves."
Oh my
Yeah. But so I just remember during the pandemic, I
God.
started seeing pictures of you on Instagram in a totally different country. I'm like, what is happening? Everybody's on lockdown and this girl is traveling to different country. How is she
I
doing
know.
this?
My
So
God.
so tell me a little bit about where you went and how long
Okay.
was this adventure of yours?
I know. I feel like I got back in December and I was like, Beverly, I've been to 10 countries. And you're like, what? You're like, what have you been up to, Cassie? And I'm like, just traveling,
During the
um,
pandemic.
so basically like I kind of had this idea in my head that I was going to travel, and like I knew the pandemic was going on. I knew some countries were open. I knew there were ways around it. And I always wanted to be safe. I always wear my mask. My dad works for the CDC, so I'm totally like, it's kind of a contradiction because the CDC and the world is telling you don't do anything that's not essential, and then my mind is saying go travel. And so I went ahead and traveled, but basically, I saved up a lot of money because I was renting out my place, and then I got unemployment from the Hawaii government. So unemployment was kicking in. I wasn't spending much just besides groceries because, I was living with my parents, and, so I was able to save a bunch and pay off my bills. And once I had a good chunk of savings, I kind of started to look into like what was open, and I was seeing like, some places in South America were open. I think some islands, and then there wasn't much open at all in Europe, but Croatia was open. And for some reason, like Croatia's kind of always been in the back of my mind, always wanted to check out that place. And so when I saw it was open, I kind of started like thinking about going. And I think I started with this idea in maybe July. I knew I was going to go travel somewhere. And so I kind of had it set for September because my sister's bachelorette party was happening in August. My birthday's in August. So I was like, I got to wait. So September was like the month, and Croatia was open, and I was like, I'm going to go. And like everybody, my mom, my dad, they were like, what the heck? How are you going to make this work? We don't know what you're doing, but okay. But I made it happen. And basically what I did is I used this app called Couch Surfing, which
Hmm.
anybody can use it if you're a traveler. But basically what it is there's hosts in these different countries that will like open up a room for you or host you for like a week or 2 weeks. And it's kind of a way to travel cheaply so that you don't have to like spend a lot of money. And so I got on the app and I was seeing what was available in Croatia. And I found this really awesome host. And he was a guy. His name is Brane, and he's from this city called Makarska, Croatia. And I started talking to him because I would, there's a way for you to read reviews. So if you're a girl, and you're feeling kind of uncomfortable staying with a guy, you can read like the reviews from other girls or whatever to make sure it's okay. And like, I've always had a really safe, comfortable experience. I've never had anything weird happen to me. But I started, I was reading the reviews. He's hosted a bunch of people from different countries. He seemed really cool. So I started talking to him and I didn't get any weird vibes. He was so nice. We were just kind of talking about Croatia and travel. And he was super nice. And I decided that I was going to stay with him in his city and he was going to host me for, it ended up being like 9 or 10 days, which is a while, but so this was the plan. So I was going to go to Croatia. I booked the flight. My mom and dad thought I was crazy. I had my host. I figured I was just going to do either, jump around on couch surfing throughout my travel, or I was going to maybe do work away, which is what I was saying. You could work in a different country at like a hostel or, something like that and get free food. So I was like, I didn't really have a lot of plans beyond staying with this one host. And so I kind of went and just was like, whatever, I'm going to go. I'm going to see what happens, see where the world leads me. And it led me a lot of other countries. Um, so first I went to Croatia. I stayed with my host Brane for 9 days. It was amazing. His family was awesome. I got to meet amazing people, experience like his city, which is this gorgeous city right on the Mediterranean Sea. He was awesome. Like he became somewhat of like a brother to me. Like we just had a really awesome friendship, and like it was a great experience.
That's so
So
cool.
yeah, so I ended up staying with him, and then I had stayed with him for like 9-10 days, and I knew that like I needed to move on. Like these people can't host me forever, you know, they have lives. So I got back on the couch surfing app, and I found another host in Split, Croatia. And so I decided to go to Split and stay with another guy. I know, crazy. And this is where the experience gets a little different. So I ended up staying with another host who hosted me in Split. I left my first host, went to my second, and stayed with him for like one night. And he was totally fine. Nothing creepy happened, nothing weird. But like, I just didn't get the same kind of like friendship vibe or like really cool connection that I had with my last host. And so I was kind of feeling like, I don't know, like I kind of want to try somebody different. Like this guy's nice, he's perfectly polite, you know, but I'm just not feeling like we're connecting, you know? And so, and I don't want like I wasn't looking for a relationship. I was just looking for like, I don't know, like I have a very easygoing personality. I felt that my last experience was so good with Brane that I wanted the same I had expectations, you know?
Right.
So while I was staying with this guy, I was on the app searching for other hosts. And I made up a lie, and I was telling the guy, I was like, you know what? I think I have to leave tomorrow unexpectedly. My friend decided to come to Croatia and I need to leave. So I made up this lie. Because everyone was telling me, my mom, my sister, they were like, if it doesn't feel right, go, like find somebody else. And like my intuition was telling me that I needed to like leave this host. So I got on the app and started talking to this Brazilian man who is now my boyfriend. Spoiler alert. um, so his name is Anthony, and he was, I started talking to him, and I was like, hey, I'm in this weird, and by the way, I wasn't trying to get all men hosts, but this is just how it happened for me. So, you know, so I started talking to Anthony, and he was like, I was like, my situation's kind of weird with this couch surfing host. We're just not really like vibing. And I'm looking for a new situation. And if you have space, please let me know. And he was like, yeah, absolutely. Like you can come tomorrow. I have, you know, an extra bed, whatever. He was very polite. And so the next day I went and I met up with my new host, who is now my boyfriend, Anthony. And so when we met,
You guys traveled together though
and we
after
ended
that,
up
right?
traveling. Yeah, we traveled to 9 other countries together after that. So that I met him after leaving that situation. I knew instantly we had a crazy connection. We were both like, it was just like meeting like a friend. Like we just had this very easygoing, we were talking the whole time. We actually ended up going to a crazy like outdoor party together after we met. Like there was this like boat party going on. Definitely probably not the best decision during COVID. So you know what? Don't judge me, but it happened. So anyways, so we ended up like having this awesome night together. We met, and like immediately we had this connection, and we decided that we wanted to travel together. So we, you know, we ended up staying together, and we went to Montenegro. I went to Malta by myself because I had plans to go to Malta before I met him. So I went to Malta by myself. Then we traveled to Montenegro, Albania, Turkey, Egypt, Dominican Republic, Mexico, Panama, Colombia, and I think there's
Wow.
one that I'm missing.
So crazy. I can't believe that you went through all those countries. That is just incredible. I can't believe you experienced all of that.
You know,
But
me too. I kind of feel bad saying it because I know people have had a really hard year. But you know what? I had the money and the means to do it, and I felt that I wanted to do it. I took all the precautions, you know, everywhere we traveled, most of the places we did get a test. And most of the places, you know, we followed the rules. We wore a mask whenever we were required to wear a mask, unless we were like in an open area. And like, I just knew that I might never have the opportunity where I had this money saved up and I had this time. And I just kind of took the opportunity that was given to me. And Anthony had been already traveling. So Anthony started traveling before the pandemic happened. So he actually was like, he's been gone for this whole like year and a half, which is crazy. So he actually was going to go home back to Brazil because he was like, I'm done with the COVID situation. I'm over it. And then he met me and he was like, let's go travel.
That's crazy.
So it was that influence. That was a bad influence. But
Yeah, but you know what? You guys are young, you know. Now's the time to really experience, you know, and I'm so happy for you that you got to experience all of that. So,
yeah.
I also like I wanted to tell the audience about the reason why I call you the goddess of sharks. Like just looking at your social media, like, oh gosh, you have the most amazing videos and pictures. And so I want to talk about your love for the ocean. You know, this
Yeah.
is partly what brought you to Hawaii. I know you've experienced the ocean in Florida too, but can you
Yeah.
tell us about your brush with these large creatures that, you know, have
Yes.
sharp teeth?
Absolutely. I would love to work with them again. But basically what happened was I was in Hawaii visiting an ex-boyfriend at the time, all the boyfriends, right? So anyways, this was a while ago and I was on Maui visiting. I was there for about 2 weeks. And I had previously gone shark diving in Florida on a vacation. And so I had the contact of one of the companies that does free diving with sharks, which is basically like they'll take a group of people out, don't have to have any experience. It's a snorkel trip and you're in the ocean uncaged with sharks. And they do it mostly in South Florida around like Jupiter Beach. So I was on Maui and I got this Instagram DM from one of the owner of Florida Shark Diving. His name's Bryce. And I didn't know him at the time. I think I had asked him a question about shark trips on Hawaii, in Hawaii, and he had, previously messaged me back. So we were Instagram friends. He messaged me randomly and was like, hey, I'm in Hawaii. I'm looking to go on a shark diving thing. Would you be interested? Like, and at this point, I love the ocean. This kind of stuff doesn't intimidate me. I love the idea of swimming with sharks. I love all like ocean creatures. I love it. So I said, yes, absolutely. I would love to go. And I ended up taking a friend with me, and we went on his boat. And unfortunately, we didn't find any sharks because we didn't have the right bait. So we were offshore, plenty of miles offshore from people or whatever, but we didn't have the right baits. We saw like one shark, but we didn't get in the water with it. It was a small like Galapagos shark or something, nothing crazy. But we actually ended up being right on his boat next to whales, which was really cool. So like I got to kind of be next to whales in the ocean, which technically is not legal in Hawaii really, but if you're in the water and a humpback whale like happens to swim by you, it's okay, but there's a gray area there that I probably crossed. But regardless, like Bryce kind of saw me in the ocean and how calm I was around whales, sharks, all the stuff that we were trying to see. And he offered me a job the next day. Like he called me and he was like, what do you think about moving to South Florida and working as a shark diver for a little bit? I have a temporary position open. I think you would be perfect for it. And what do you think? And at the time, this was kind of one of my lapses from being in Hawaii. I was back home in Georgia, saving some money. The first time I went to Hawaii, I was telling you, I kind of trusted the wrong people. It was very pricey. I hadn't really figured out my job situation yet. So I took a little break from Hawaii. And at this point in time, I was back in Georgia, working at a bar, staying with my sister, and I was visiting Hawaii. So he offered me the job. I literally packed up all my stuff, threw it in the back of my car, drove 9 hours to South Florida, quit my job bartending. I was like, bye, I'm gone. I want to work with sharks. And I ended up sleeping on the boat. Like I lived on the boat for about 2 months and I didn't have a place. I did couch surfing. So I did get to stay in like a nice condo that I had met this guy who had this condo. And he was like, honestly, if you clean it, you can stay whenever I don't have a booking. So every now and then I got to stay in this cool condo, and the other amount of times I was sleeping on the boat, and I would wake up at 7 and we would dive with sharks. We'd take 6 people out at a time. We'd have 2 or 3 trips a day. We'd go about 7 miles offshore. We'd bait. So we drop like some tuna, some like bloody fish in the water on a crate. And my job was basically making sure that the sharks weren't getting too close to the people. I was just always monitoring the situation and just making sure everybody was comfortable and safe. And that was my job. Some days I would be swimming with up to 20 or 25 bull sharks, like in the water. And it was like the craziest, I think I tell people that this experience was one of the best experiences of my life. Like I'll always cherish those days because I spent my days like swimming with these apex predators, and it was just
That is
amazing.
so incredible. And
Yeah.
I just love how you just have no fear, like and you cannot, if you're in a
Yeah.
situation like that,
Yeah.
you can't be afraid,
No, yeah.
I
I
wonder if
actually
they,
had one. I don't know if I told you this, but I had one day on that boat where I had to punch a shark in the face. I have done it. It's crazy. I had a bull shark come at me. You just have to be on your guard. Anything can happen, and I was kind of looking left and looking right, looking all around me. And I turned my head for an instant. And when I turned it back, I had a bull shark just like tail whipping, like coming straight for me. And I didn't have a lot of time to react, but I had a big GoPro on a stick. And I remember I took the GoPro, hit the bull shark in the face, and then I kicked it away and I was okay. But it was one of the craziest experiences of my life. And I remember telling my mom and dad that and them having almost heart attack.
you're probably like, I shouldn't have told you that.
I told them on April Fool's Day that a shark bit me, and
You're
my
so
dad,
mean.
I'm
You're
terrible.
mean.
And then I had voicemails. My dad, I'm gonna book a flight right now. And they didn't talk to me for 2 weeks after that. They
Yeah, you
were
deserve
so
that. You
they
deserve
were so
that.
mad.
That's so mean. Some
Oh,
April Fool's joke. Oh my gosh.
I know. So I got what I got coming. But you know what? It was an awesome experience. And I had 7-year-olds come dive with sharks. You would
Wow.
be amazed at the people that wanted to do it. And anybody can. Like I mean, now people are probably gonna hear after I just punched a shark in the face. Maybe they're not gonna feel so good. But it's a completely different environment when you're in a controlled space and you have a dive guide there, and she or he is always making sure that you're not getting too close to them and you're at your comfort level. So like it's a completely different experience in a controlled environment. But I myself, I'm always wary being in Hawaii. I'm sure like, no, don't go swimming in murky water, always avoiding we've had a lot of flooding recently, so like snorkeling is just kind of not a good
Hmm.
idea because if you can't see what's below you, you just don't know. And Hawaii, I think, is like number 1 or number 2. We've had a lot of shark attacks over the
Yeah, and those tiger sharks are aggressive, man.
very aggressive, and we've had deaths this year. So it is one of those things where I love sharks, I respect sharks, but I know what can happen. And I know that when I'm snorkeling, I'm always just extra aware and making sure the conditions are good, because you never know. And when I feel comfortable because I'm in an environment that's controlled. If I have a bait crate, if I know where the sharks are, that's where I feel comfortable. But when you're snorkeling and paddle boarding, that's when you hear about these accidents happening. So
Right.
you never know. And so people have a really bad view of them, but they're part
Yeah.
of the ocean chain. And I give my love and respect to the
Yeah.
sharks.
You definitely know what to do if you
Yeah.
punch the shark in the
If
face,
it tell Everybody needs to know, if a shark is coming at you, do not look away, do not swim away. You need to stare that shark. Eye to eye contact is very important, and then just be aggressive,
Bah.
because
Bah.
as soon as you're aggressive, they'll go away. But if you're scared, they can sense fear. So
Yeah. That's
you just gotta get
crazy.
your jaws on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Dun 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 dun
I
dun.
know. I'm used to playing.
So, I you with the GoPro under the water, is that your form of photography underwater? What about
So
above water? What do you
with
shoot?
sharks, I was doing GoPro, but I also shoot with, I have a Canon 6D that I use for like families, portraits, engagements, all that stuff. But then also I have an underwater housing for that camera. So I'll stick it in. I have a really, actually I have it here. I'll show you it. I have it with me. One moment.
I love
So,
photography too. Like that's one of my passions. I've never done underwater photography,
well, if you
but
need to,
oh
this,
wow,
yeah. So this is what I use. Like I stick my camera right in one of these bad
that
boys.
is super cool
Yeah.
looking.
So I have this, and that's what I shoot with, like when I'm going underwater. It does video and photo. I can't change the settings once I'm underwater, so that's one of the downfalls. But I got it cheap on Facebook Marketplace, so you know what? You got to do what you got to do.
Wow,
So
that's pretty cool.
yeah, but I do still use my GoPro. But for my job, this is what I have to use anyways. So if I ever see any animals or stuff that's cool underwater, I use this guy.
Wow. So, the photography that you did through that job, so you do freelance too? Like,
Yes.
just so you started your own business. This is pandemic kind of activity going on.
I
Like
know,
all
right?
these
The
Gen
whole
Zs and
world starting
millennials.
their own business.
Yeah, I'm telling you, like I meet all these 23-year-olds, 24-year-olds, 22-year-olds that just graduated from college during the pandemic and they're like no jobs.
Yeah.
So it's been so amazing. Everybody is just like, I'm just going to start my own business. And then
Yeah.
I know so many of
I
you
think it's
young
great.
people just doing so great,
And
like
even you didn't start doing the podcast until after the pandemic, right?
yeah, I mean, this is just recently, but
Yeah.
I just been so inspired by all the people I've been talking to because that was one of the things that I was inspired to do during the pandemic was just
Yeah.
reaching out to people. I
Which
just
I,
randomly started FaceTiming people, like people I haven't spoken to in like 10 years. I just be
yeah.
like, FaceTime, see what
Because you
happens.
need it. You need it. Absolutely, you need it. Like everyone needs to have human connection, and like this is time is very hard. So like it's great what you're doing, being able to connect with all these people because like feels good to connect with you because I'm like we're in Corona. I'm in Hawaii. Everything's shutting down at 10. The
Yeah.
mayor's not messing around. Our governor's like cracking the
Yep.
whip.
Yep. Yeah.
No
So
parties, no dancing, nothing.
yeah. So, I mean, I feel more connected to people than ever now. And it just makes me feel so good. I just want to keep doing it. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. Well, yeah, with the photography stuff, like you're right. I'm freelance photographer. About a year and a half ago, or 2019, summer of 2019, I had a friend of a friend who told me about this photography business on an island called Island Dream Productions. And basically, we're kind of an umbrella group of freelance photographers that work on some of the catamarans on Maui. So like just like on Oahu where they have the catamarans that'll take people out on snorkel trips, all that stuff, they do it here on Maui. And I basically work on the boats and do not only snorkel trips, but I'll do whale watches and I take pictures of the tourists like throughout the whole trip. And then at the end of the day, I'll sell my photos and make commission off of that. And so that's kind of been my job since 2019. But it wasn't until after the pandemic, after I came back, that I really launched my own private business. Shooting engagements, shooting clients, shooting proposals. And it's just been going crazy like wildfire for the past month. I basically got an opportunity. I don't know if I just wasn't motivated before, if I was just comfortable on Maui and didn't really see more for myself. But my boyfriend kind of inspired me to, go, take your camera, learn more about how you can shoot portraits. And I studied journalism in college, but I was kind of lazy with my photography classes. I shot on auto for years. And then this year I really took it upon myself to try and learn my craft. And I started watching videos and just going out. I started talking to my coworkers, my other freelance photographer friends about how they shoot. And I decided to just go for it. And how I did it was I had a surprise proposal on my boat one day. I was working a regular shift, a regular sunset boat trip, and one of the guys on the trip decided to propose to his fiance that trip, and he wanted me to take the photos. And I was like, oh my god, I'm so, so I ended up doing it, and I took the photos on the boat, and then he asked me to take their engagement photos, which I had never done anything like that before. So I started researching, videos about how to shoot engagements and where to do it. And I, took it upon myself to take the opportunity. And then ever since then, it's been great. I've just been booking clients through either the boat, which after somebody will buy a package from me on the boat, I'll say something like, hey, I have my own side business. If you need family portraits on a beach, I do that as well. So I booked a couple clients like that. And then most of my clients I book through social media. So a lot of people will come on Facebook asking for advice because they're traveling to Maui for the first time. They need a photographer. And there's all these little groups where people will give advice and share information. And so I started to post on there that I'm a photographer. Here's my information. And I've booked a bunch of clients in the past month. And then I have a bunch of clients booked up for the next couple months. So I'm really happy. I'm really excited about it because, I'm making money with the boats, and then I'm also making money, with the private clients. So it's actually been an awesome year for me, despite the pandemic.
Yes.
But I think, I do think that when people come to Hawaii, they want to remember it. So
Yes.
that's what
I'm
I'm here
so
for.
happy for you. That is so inspiring. And you know what? Like, you're so talented, and you know what I love about you? You're just a go-getter, you know?
Yeah,
Nothing
I'm a
stops you.
Leo.
You
We're
see the
lions.
opportunity, you just, oh, it's mine. I'm taking it,
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
run with it, and you're just going to get better and better. And you know what? Like, can you share your information? Like, what's your website? Like, how can people
Absolutely.
find you?
I'll send you the links, but for everybody watching, my website is Cassie, my name, CASSIE, the letter D, photography.com. And then it's the same on Instagram. So Cassie D Photography is my Instagram. And those are kind of the main links where people can check out like my portfolio and all that stuff. I also have a personal Instagram. It's Cass, CAS, and then my last name, DAIGLE. So that's kind of where I post all my crazy Hawaii pictures. But yeah, so like people can find me there. If you're traveling to Hawaii, please come see me on the great island of Maui.
That's
I'll take you all your
awesome.
photos.
That's awesome.
Bev, you have to have a reunion trip some one of these days, and I'll shoot your whole family whenever they come.
Yes, I will totally.
I
That
would
sounds
die
amazing.
when you get off the plane on Oahu. I want to be there with
You're gonna
some
watch my hair
champagne.
frizz. You're gonna see my hair frizz from the
I
humidity.
know. It's been flooding. I don't know if you've heard all the news. It's been crazy flooding over here.
Yeah, I saw some crazy videos recently.
My
Yeah.
God, we need summer to get here because, like,
Wait till flash flood season is over.
yeah, right?
Well, I appreciate you so much for coming on my show, and I just love your energy. It's
I
so
love you.
inspiring. And I just, I wish you the best, and we are definitely going to keep in touch, and we'll definitely
Absolutely.
see each other again when I can
Everly's gonna
come to
do my
Hawaii.
teeth every December. Every December, my mom books the appointment, and I walk into the office, and Beverly's like, "Cassie, where have you been? What are you doing?" So I'll see
Hey.
you for my next. You're my only dentist. I don't have a dentist.
And you know what? You're flossing. I just
I am. I flossed last night. I flossed last night. I flossed last night, and I will continue to floss. And this is a newfound. This is also a pandemic gift. I started flossing. So I'm talking to all you guys now. You gotta floss because Beverly knew when she checked my teeth. She said, "Wow, Cassie, you really have." And I know.
I made a difference in someone's life. I love it.
Well, I love you, and I'm so happy that I got to share this with you. And I'm so excited to catch up on your podcast. And I think it's great that you're connecting with all these people and you're able to share their stories in this medium. And that's exactly what people need right now. I feel like this was a therapy session.
Yeah, totally, totally. So
Here
you
it's Cool.
Yeah. So you enjoy the rest of your day. I really, really thank you again for coming on the show and just having such amazing energy. I know everyone's going to enjoy this episode. And so I just want to, close out here. Thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to Dark Horse Matters, the show about people, their passions, and their pursuit toward happiness. If you enjoyed this episode, please like it, subscribe it, and share it with your friends because I just appreciate the support. Mahalo so much for the support for growing our dreams. So until next time, be passionate.